Hello.
Episode 39. Um,
39.
Hopefully I sound husky and not nasally today. I was sick
Mm-hmm.
last week, so my apologies, everyone. Um, Welcome.
Sounds
Girls
good.
Gone Spooky. A couple spooky gals.
Yay, welcome
Um,
back.
Welcome back. Episode 39. We have okay, I have to kind of spoil it a little bit because I realized it when I was putting in the title for this one that it's 39. Our
Mm-hmm.
40th episode is going to be a special episode for you skeptics out there.
Yeah, that is a nice even number for that
So,
one.
yeah. So that's all I'm going to say about it. That's not on
Mm-hmm.
that. That's the tweet, but we're excited.
Yeah,
But this
that's going to
week,
be a fun one.
we're taking your asses to school.
To class. Take your ass
Go to
to class.
class. Take your ass to class, loser. Fucking nerds. Just
That's a
kidding. We're the
saying,
nerds.
probably.
It's fine.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely, we're the nerds. I shared the pod with a coworker friend of mine. He literally, the first thing he said in all caps was like, "You guys are fucking dorks." I was like, "Okay,
Well,
soften the language,
yeah,
sir."
it's okay.
So
I'm loud
if
and
he's
proud
listening
about
to
it.
this, I'm offended. Just kidding, not really. I think he liked it. But yeah,
Yeah.
Amy goes first this week, so I'm gonna let her take it away.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. We did say the theme. I don't know why I already forgot that we said it. So this is haunted schools,
Yes.
and all of mine are in the U.S. And we'll start with a bang because this one came up so much when I was researching it.
Yes.
It was like number one on every list of haunted schools. And it's El Paso High School in El Paso, Texas. And it was built in 1916, and it has the nickname Lady on the Hill because it's
Oh,
positioned on a hillside that overlooks
okay.
the city.
That
Um,
tracks.
yes, and being over 100 years old, you can imagine it has some history going on, and because of that, its hauntings run the gamut. So one of the most active spirits is seemingly that of a former student who, oh, I forgot one thing. Blanket trigger warning for
Mm.
suicide through this
Hmm.
entire thing.
Okay,
Um,
thank you.
so, yeah. Um, so, yeah, one of the most active spirits is a former student who was thought to have committed suicide in the school, either by slitting her wrists or by jumping off of one of the school's balconies. Um, that has not been confirmed that anyone actually died in there or committed suicide in the school. But they think that because there have been a few instances of apparitions of a high school aged girl,
Mm.
including a couple that were caught on camera. So,
Whoa.
yeah, just not video camera, just still images.
Okay,
But
still though, creepy.
yeah, definitely. So the main incident that was on film is a photo of the graduating class of 1985. And in this photo, there's a blurry figure dressed in white, typical,
Mm.
with long hair, and she's sitting between two students in the picture. And
Okay.
this could have just been that there was a person there and they moved, and so their image came out blurry in the photo. But the
Hmm.
weird part is that the people that this figure is sitting between said that no one was sitting between them as they were sitting for the photo. So
Weird.
very weird. And then even weirder, if it was somebody sitting there and they had just forgotten or whatever, no one recognizes this person as anyone who looks similar to someone in their class. So
Ew.
she's kind of unidentifiable. Oh. We have a visitor in our I'm dog sitting little Nora. She came in. Here
Nora?
you are.
What kind of
I wish you
baby
could
is
see her.
Nora?
Let's see if we can get her up here.
Can you lift her? Will
Nora,
she let you?
this is not a good time. She won't. Okay. But she'll disrupt the whole thing, but she won't. There she is.
Oh my God, you guys, she's like a fluffy golden doodle baby.
Yeah, she's so
Whose
cute.
baby is that?
That's our friend Beta and
Hi,
Kevin.
Nora. Oh my
Their little
God.
doggy. She's so
Oh my gosh,
cute.
she's so cute.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. She's gonna be our temporary mascot. We'll post her on Instagram for sure
Yes. Yes. We
if we
will.
have rights
Maybe
from the
soon.
parents.
I'm sure we do. Um, but yeah, sorry for that interruption. She scared me when she opened the door.
I know you
Oh.
looked behind you and I was like, what's happening? What's happening? Ghosties.
Just a little dog.
Hello, Doge.
Okay, go lay down. So that was the photo. The other one, with evidence caught on camera, was a simple, quick one. That it was a picture taken during a football game at the school,
Hmm.
and it shows another shadowy figure standing between two people in
Mm.
this picture that somebody took, and they were just attending the game, snapped a photo, and there's this weird little apparition between two people. So who knows?
Do you have these photos?
Hmm. Yeah,
Okay, I need to see these.
yeah. I'll send them. I
Yay.
mean, I think, yeah. Well, you'll be the judge. I'll just send them to you.
I'll be the
So
judge. I'll be the
yeah,
judge of that.
yeah. Yes, you and you alone will be the
Me
judge.
and me. The ultimate authority. I'm
Jury
so
nomination.
unqualified.
Amazing. Okay, next thing. So, aside from these apparitions and that unconfirmed suicide, it is
Mm,
undisputed that during the Spanish flu outbreak,
mm,
El Paso High School was used as a storage facility for the bodies of people who
ooh.
had died from the flu. And this I'm not certain about, but one source also said that bodies of soldiers who died in combat in Europe during
Mm,
World War I were shipped to and stored at this high school until the next of kin could come and
oh,
get their loved one. Um, so kind of spooky. And since then,
yeah.
these areas of the school where the bodies were kept have been blocked off.
Hmm.
Um, and this might be because people reported seeing these basement classrooms inexplicably full of mist and also with goo dripping down
No,
from the
no
ceiling.
drippy goo.
So,
Come on.
no, I know it's too much.
The walls look
But
like the back of my throat after this call.
ew, phlegmy, gross.
Phlegmy, just green goo.
Uh-huh,
Gross.
ew. But probably
Sorry,
accurate.
but yeah.
Probably accurate. Yep.
Oh shit.
And then other than the goo, there's also the standards of seeing doors slamming for no apparent reason,
Mm,
cold spots in the halls, and also commonly like hearing commotion, almost like a pep rally,
mm.
taking place
Oh.
in the gym, only to find that it's empty. So
Mm,
odd. Okay, that's El
very odd.
Paso High School.
Okay.
Creepy.
Very
And
creepy.
the next one is also a high school in Pocatello, Idaho.
Oh, Pocatello. That's kind of fun.
Pocatello, I know. And they call it Pokey High School, which is cute.
Cute.
So, Pokey. Um, and from this high school, there was actually some security footage that went viral back in, I
Ooh.
think, 2014 or 15. Um, you might recognize it because I remember watching it. when it
Mm.
came out.
Okay.
Because it looks like there's a shadowy something walking down the halls of this school and like messing with the lights, so the lights
Mm.
flash and stuff. And the footage was recorded during the school's winter break, so no students or staff would have been at the school at this time. And the figure that's in it is, yeah, it's shadowy, but it definitely is like a human type figure, but
Yeah.
no one should have been there. So
Yeah.
spooky.
Ooh, that's creepy.
Yeah. And so that spirit in this school is thought to be, again, a high school age girl who killed herself in the
Mm.
school sometime between 1940 and 1950. And
Mm.
though I couldn't find the exact year of her death, this is somewhat more confirmed that it happened because the girl killed herself as part of a suicide pact with her
Mm.
friend, who decided not to go through with it. So she lived
Jeez.
to share the story. Um, and this girl killed herself by strangling herself using her locker somehow. I guess, yeah, I don't need to know the specifics,
Oh God.
but they decided to remove and replace that locker. But even after doing that, they say you can still smell the girl's perfume right in that area. Yeah.
Oh God, that is bleak. Also,
Yeah.
remember when like suicide pacts were like a thing? Like
Mhm.
it was like all the rage to like make a
Yeah.
suicide pact. Like
Yeah.
what?
I know. Tragic.
What?
Yeah. Awful. I know. I can't imagine.
Was that like the 90s that that was a big thing?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, this took place in the 40s, 50s. So
Oof,
I guess it's just a thing
it's
that's
been a
been
thing.
around.
It maybe comes in like waves.
Yeah. Who knows?
Oof. Ooh, it gives me the chills. I don't like that.
I know. I know. Creepy. Unfortunately, but maybe fortunately, I don't know. Ghost Hunters, but not with Zach
Mm,
Bagans, did an episode at this
yeah.
high school, and they apparently debunked both or most of those stories that I just told, including the video
Oh.
footage, which they believe was a spider web hanging in front of the camera. But again,
Wait,
you'll be the
really?
judge.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what? Okay, that
yeah,
seems like a skeptic stretch, but okay.
yeah. And they were the ghost hunters, so they aren't skeptics, presumably,
Right.
but um, I don't know. We'll
Or maybe
see.
they're
You can
just
watch
dumb.
it. Yeah, just dumb. Who knows? Um, but yeah, they did though have some experiences of their own. Um, and for whatever reason, I don't know why they do this on that show where they split up. Like everyone goes to
Every
a different
time.
area. Like why?
Every time. I'm
Yeah,
gonna go into this crawl space by myself.
by myself.
Okay.
Yeah,
Why though?
good idea.
Great
Yeah.
idea.
hmm So yeah, they did that, and two of the investigators who spent time in the school's gym, each
Hmm.
at different times, they had nearly the exact same experience in there, in which they were overcome with emotion, and then the sense of someone giving them a big hug and like pressure on their shoulder,
Mm.
which is interesting.
Yeah.
It's worth noting that they did not talk about those experiences until after,
Mm.
so they each occurred separately from each other. And the investigators brought those incidents up with the historian that they interviewed for the episode, and he mentioned somebody who had previously attended Pokey High School, and he
Okay.
was a huge basketball fan. So he
Okay.
spent a lot of time in that gym. He never missed a game until he unfortunately also ended his life. And he was known in life to be very friendly, and he always greeted people with a big hug, and he was very
Oh.
tall and would rest his head on like other people's
Other
heads or
people's
shoulders
heads.
when he would
Oh,
hug them. So could have been him giving
oh,
people
that's
a
so
hug.
sweet. That's actually
I
so
know.
sweet.
Yeah, it is. So they debunked some of the spookier parts of that, but still seems
Okay.
like
Yeah.
there's still activity there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that one, and then I just have two more. So the third one is called Bellevue Elementary School, and it's in Tulsa,
Ooh,
Oklahoma.
an elementary
And
school.
I know, getting younger.
Mm-hmm.
But Bellevue Elementary School, it's no longer a school. It was converted into a few different businesses and offices in 1990. But when it was still in operation as a school, people reported a quote, mischievous little ghost who liked to do sort of just harmless things that would make his presence known. Um, but now, one of the businesses that occupies this school or former school is a bar where the staff and patrons often see glasses falling from the shelves for no apparent
Oh,
reason.
funny.
Yeah. And one of the, I guess, spookiest stories, most well known, is from somebody who was outside of this building. He watched what looked like a little boy crawling into a second floor window, so not coming out, but crawling
Oh,
into the window. Um, and obviously, this is alarming because a kid should not be crawling
on the
on
roof.
a
Yeah.
second floor window. So he was like, oh my God, let me check this out. He thought maybe there's a balcony or something that I'm not seeing, but there was no balcony on that side of the building. So this kid was just crawling into an unopened window. Um,
What the
and
heck?
yeah, it makes some sense because the spirit that's thought to haunt this school is a former student who died by accidentally falling out of a window. So,
Oh,
yeah.
sad.
Yeah, could be him, sadly.
Poor little boop.
But yeah, hopefully he's still creating some mischief and having fun.
Hmm.
You never know. Maybe he
Yeah,
loves it.
I hope so.
Um, yeah. But then the last one, I wanted to do my hometown school. It's a
Hmm.
university, Colorado State University. And the thing that made me think of doing this one, I couldn't find any actual like articles or evidence of this, but maybe it's an urban legend and it's kind of along the lines of the girl where they could still smell her perfume.
Hmm.
And this story that I had heard was that one of the fraternity houses associated with CSU, a girl died in the basement of it, and she always wore perfume that smelled like lilacs. And I guess
Mm.
if you go in there, it's still overwhelmingly the scent of lilac in the basement. But
Oh,
I couldn't
weird.
find anything about that. I had heard that though growing up here as maybe just a little urban legend. Who
But
knows?
also, like, who would record that? Like, where would you
Hmm.
find that online? You know? Because
Yeah,
people are probably
true.
like, oh, I'm being whatever. You know, I don't know.
Hmm.
I feel like, yeah, who knows?
Yeah,
It seems like
right.
it could be legit.
Yeah, could be. And it's not, as far as I know, if I'm thinking of the right place, it's not a frat house anymore. And I think it was recently for sale. So
Oh,
somebody else might be living there as a residential home. So
interesting. We should call them. We should
who knows?
send them
Yeah.
some snail mail and be like, hey, if you go into this space, does it smell like
Hmm.
lilac or nah?
They definitely answer. That's not
I
weird.
feel like they might. You
Yeah.
never know.
I could
Especially
just
if they
ring the
know about
doorbell.
the urban legend.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, more about CSU. There was Arthur Johnson Hall. It was originally the student union building back when it was first built in the 30s, I believe. Since then, it's been turned into offices where, particularly on the second floor, staff have reported strange sensations, including, and this really is creepy, the feeling of being punched in the stomach while they
Jeez.
reach into this one specific storage closet. So
Ew.
it's like, maybe don't store things in there anymore. Like, move the stuff out, probably. But, and also on this floor, they can hear singing when no
Mm.
music is being played or performed, which kind of makes sense because the student union had a stage area up there
Mm-hmm.
for choir performances and whatnot. Um, so Johnson Hall, it was designed by an architect named Eugene Groves, and he designed several other buildings on the campus, including this next one, which is Braden Hall. It was originally built as a dorm. I'm not sure what's in there now. Um, but in this building, there are dead end staircases and windowless hallways. And the custodians and staff say that if posters or signs in this building are not nailed to the wall, they usually end up scattered on the ground the next day. So something's taking them down.
Well, that's
Um,
funny.
yeah. And this building is also infamous for being Eugene's last design project because he was arrested under suspicion of plotting to kill his wife and children. And
Jeez.
he later revealed that his plan was to bury their bodies in the foundation of this building. But thankfully, they
Mm.
caught him before he could carry out his plan. But
Ugh.
yeah, the
God.
the source that I read was talking about like these windowless hallways and staircases that go to nowhere.
Yeah,
Probably an indication that his mental condition was
not great.
deteriorating.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, spooky. That's CSU.
Okay.
I think there's more probably, but those were the main ones for what
I
I
love it.
wanted to talk about.
So
Yes.
since you covered US, I decided to cover international, which is
Mm-hmm.
just like so broad.
Yeah.
But I honed in on a few. There are a lot of like lists of like top 5, top 7, top
Mm-hmm.
50 most haunted
Yeah.
schools. Most of them are universities. Um, but just to preface, like there were a ton of like very historical ones that I just kind of skipped.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know like in the US, one of the ones when I started researching was Gettysburg. Like
Yeah.
there's a high school there and it's like, or a
Makes sense.
university there. And it's like, yeah, of
Mm-hmm.
course.
Yeah.
So there was a lot from like World War II era that, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest, like full respect to all of the souls who still linger there. It's just really sad. Like it's just really,
Yeah.
really sad. So I was like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
just gonna go for spooky and not so sad.
Yeah.
Lots of like sterilization of women during World War
Oh,
II and hearing women's cries from the
yeah.
places where that happened.
Mm-mm.
And there was an atomic bomb that was dropped in Japan. Like it's just
Yeah.
like, oh, it's just like kind of heavy. So
Yeah. We don't need that.
just please note that like we are aware that those exist and they are very fucking haunted.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
we're gonna go a little more lighthearted. Starting with
Let's
a
hear
one
it.
that really gave me a giggle. It's the University of Wales.
Mm-hmm.
And the most famous ghost is named Big Bertha.
Oh man,
And
amazing.
so at night, the security staff would hear the elevator coming up and down with no one in it. And they got into the habit of saying, "Here comes Big Bertha," but in their
Oh
Welsh
man.
accent, which I'm not even
Yeah.
going to
No.
try to do.
No.
But she was basically this like 6 foot tall woman who wears brown overalls, at least in the afterlife, wears her hair in a bun. it's thought to be or said to be Bertha Ramsey, who was mysteriously found dead at the foot of the stairs in January of 1962. And there's actually a lot of mystery around her death. So the main question, so she was around 60 years old, nicknamed Big Bertha in an article from the BBC that I was reading, said for obvious reasons.
Oh.
Rude.
Maybe she's sticking around because people gave her such a bad nickname.
Quit talking shit, bitches. Body positivity, shut up.
Yeah.
So people thought originally she had fallen to her death after toppling over a banister on the second floor, but since then there's been a lot of speculation around, like, did she fall? Was she maybe pushed, like, as like a prank or a joke, and then it went totally wrong? I don't know. There's a lot of question around that. But there have been a lot, like, numerous sightings of her ghost roaming the corridors near her room on the ground floor, actually. So not the second floor where she died, but the ground floor. It happened during the Christmas holidays. So there were no students, her death, there were no students staying at the college. So there was really no reason for her to go upstairs. So that's why there was, like, a big question mark around it. Is, like, did something lure her up there, or what happened? There was, there's a woman, Rosemary Rockcliffe, who's studying for an MA in historical landscapes and has done a lot of research into this, according to the BBC, which is such a cool, like, concentration of historical landscapes.
Yeah, it is. That is cool.
So during her research into Big Bertha, like, come on, just call her Bertha. Big Bertha. Miss Rockcliffe said that despite searching, she still has not found a death certificate or Bertha's grave, and has also discovered that even after her death, the formidable figure of Bertha still managed to startle people who knew her. There's a quote: she told no one that she had an identical twin sister who turned up for the funeral and went into the principal's office, giving him the fright of his life. Said Miss
Can you imagine?
No. This, like, really kind of, like, terrifying woman.
Yeah.
He thought it was Big Bertha come back from the dead, of course.
Wow.
So like I said, her ghost is described as a woman wearing a brown overalls with her hair pulled back in a tight bun, which is a very well-known phenomenon among security staff who patrol the campus at night. Many claim to have heard strange noises and seen pictures knocked crooked while making their rounds. A security officer named Tim Jones said several of the security staff have heard strange sounds at night, and sometimes in the early hours of the morning, the lift will come down, and when the doors open, there's no one inside it. When that happens, we all say, "Here comes Big Bertha," he said.
Man.
I thought that was just, like, kind of a funny one to kick off with, because I saw Big Bertha and I cackled.
Yeah.
So the next one is in Melbourne, Australia, and it's Marblehead, also known as Hellmouth, is this town where it exists. It's called Westall Middle School and High School, so two separate schools, Westall Middle School, Westall High School, but they're both kind of connected. So the school apparently is in a town that was originally called Hellmouth back in the colonial days, which stands for, of course, a property representing the entrance of hell. And the idea is that the original name might have had something to do with the belief that the town was actually built over a portal for psychic energy, which drew things into the town. So it's almost like, oh shoot, I'm totally spacing on the name of it. That place where people go for, like, UFO sightings, and Roswell.
Oh.
Roswell.
Yeah.
Yeah,
in
Roswell.
New Mexico?
Yes.
Yes.
It's kind of like that, but the Australian version of that.
Okay. Cool.
So the town paper actually reported the largest mass witnessing of a UFO in Australian history.
Wow.
So it happened over this school in Melbourne, Australia. So it was
Wow.
around 11 a.m. on Wednesday, the 6th of April, 1966. A class of students and a teacher from Westall High School were outside when they saw a gray, saucer-shaped craft hovering over them. Fortunately, the craft took off to descend in a nearby field rather than whisking the children and teacher away, like you see in the movies. But now they've, of course, lived to tell about that day. And there's actually on nationalgeographic.com.au a video of them telling the story of this whole
Wow.
thing. Like,
Cool.
it's not like footage of them completely, but it's like the whole story. So if you're interested, natgeo.com.au videos, and it's
Wow.
Westall.
That's interesting.
So I thought that was kind of fun and funny.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next one takes us to the Philippines. So, which I kind of didn't expect for some reason. Like I was not, I was expecting like almost exclusively Western places,
Yeah.
but there are two, I think, Eastern that I'll talk about. So this is a 400-year-old institution. It's actually the oldest existing university in Asia, which is so cool.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's the University of Santo Tomas, and it is just chock full of scary shit that's happened.
Amazing.
I'm gonna have a coughing fit for a second. Hold on. Okay, we're good.
Good.
So one of I think the scariest things, there is a morgue on the campus for the medical students, and the dead in the morgue have been reported to come to life and walk around.
Awesome.
Like multiple accounts of that happening.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I read that and I was like, oh, okay, casual. And they threw it in with like a list of other creepy things that happened. And I was like, wait a minute, back up. What?
The dead are reanimating. It deserves its own heading.
Yeah, or just its own sentence. Like, Jesus. So, wow. But not just coming to life and like walking around, roaming the university's hospital as if they were patients still.
Oh, God.
Like,
how
really creepy.
Yeah.
So, very weird. Other things include inanimate objects moving by themselves, getting caught on security camera. So not like, oh, I saw something. Like, you know, you're in a hospital, if you're like on morphine or whatever, maybe you're going to see some weird shit. But no, it's like on camera. Ghosts of suicide victims, I guess. I don't know how else to phrase that. Traumatizing students, like going up to students with like their suicidal wounds from, how their lives ended, like traumatizing students, like really brutal. And the ghost of a priest roaming one of the parks. So I wanted to like dig in a little more to the priest. So I found another Esquire actually covered this.
Cool.
So like I said, 400-year-old university. People call it UST. So UST has gone through, of course, the Spanish colonial era, hence the name, all the way through Japanese occupation, which I actually didn't know the Japanese occupied the Philippines. I probably should have known that, but I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
Both of which were some of the like bloodiest periods of the country's history, which, you know, makes sense, unfortunately. And for a while, a specific part of the university called the Sampaloc campus was converted into an internment camp by the Japanese to hold Americans. So kind of bizarre.
Interesting.
But I mean, I would assume like POWs, but holding Americans. But back to the priest. So this isn't about the Americans. It's about a priest who happened to be Dominican, actually, who roams between UST's Lover's Lane and Benavides Park. One day, they call him Raphael. I don't know if this is actually his name or if they just made up a name.
Yeah.
One day, Raphael was rushing home to catch a UV Express after his last class ended late. He took the Lover's Lane shortcut to get to the nearest gate, and as he was walking, he felt the humid weather suddenly turn cool. Too much in a hurry to pay attention to that fact, Raphael kept walking and passed a figure strolling slowly towards him, wearing a Dominican habit that looked different, older than the ones the campus friars wore. When Raphael reached him, he bowed his head slightly and greeted the friar, still the respectful Catholic student, no matter how much of a rush he was in. The friar didn't say anything, but when his eyes peered down as he was bowing his head, he saw that the friar had stopped walking and his feet weren't touching the ground.
Oh, spooky.
Raphael felt the air still, and his fight-or-flight instinct kicked into overdrive. He ran as fast as he could, holding his breath until he was out of the park and at the main gate.
Oh, wow.
So
he chose flight.
And he was like, bye! Which, like, respect.
Mm-hmm.
So the next one is Maynooth University, which is in Ireland. And specifically, we're looking at the Rhetoric House. So Rhetoric House on the campus of the Maynooth University. So there are about 13,000 students who've come through Rhetoric House over the years who have experienced something there. So like a shit ton of accounts of weird crap happening. The top floor, specifically, of the Rhetoric House is covered up for the most part, but it's called the Ghost Room. So
an appropriate name.
Yeah. So according to legend, this is where a young student slit his own throat, but because suicide was very taboo in a Catholic country like Ireland, the school condemned the student's actions, and his body was actually buried in a separate grave within the campus. So it was said that years later, the same type of incident actually took place in the ghost room, and there was a priest, allegedly, who was sent to investigate, and he ran screaming from the room. So something happened to him in there. And I say allegedly about this part mainly is that his hair turned white. The priest. He was so scared his hair turned white, which, like, is that possible?
Does that happen?
No, not really sure. It happens in Charmed, but I don't know if it happens in real life.
I'll Google it.
There are supposed to be blood stains on the wooden floor, and there are many accounts of that. So that's really brutal. Like, maybe replace the flooring.
I was gonna say, just refinish it.
Come on, guys. Like, ooh. So I'm trying to quickly look at this. So yeah, so this. Oh, what?
Sorry, I just Googled.
No.
I started typing, "Can your hair turn?" and the first thing was, "Can your hair turn white from fear?" The first suggestion.
They know.
I think we're gonna need to do some more reading. I think basically it's no.
Yeah. I mean, not immediately, right? Because your hair would have to suddenly grow super fast. Like,
yeah. Right. Yeah.
Not really how it works.
Well, I'll read this, though, because it's on NBC News. So,
okay. I'd love to hear that.
Report later.
So the thing that's interesting about this one is that there are a lot of, like, scholars, like historians, theologists, like people who, like, really are like, yo, this shit's messed up. Like, there's something about this room. So the first suicide that I mentioned happened in the 1840s. And the scene was discovered after the resident of room 2, the young man who died by suicide, after he missed the lectures of the day, because it's a pretty small school, so people noticed. His friends went looking for him. They found his room soaking in a pool of his own blood from a self-inflicted gash across his throat. Room 2 remained vacant throughout the rest of the year. So, and today, of course, like Catholic, kind of superstitious, the window to the room has been covered with an altar to Saint Joseph, which is kind of interesting. And they have a photo of it, actually. It looks kind of creepy because it looks like someone's standing there, but it's just like a small, like, I don't know, maybe foot or 2 foot figurine statue kind of thing. So the following year, the room was assigned to a new young man who, shockingly, was also found dead under the exact same circumstances.
Oh, no.
Throat slash, razor in hand. Sometime after that, another resident of this room, it was room 2 at the time, was found lying on the ground outside of Rhetoric House after he jumped from the 3rd floor window. He was still alive, but barely. He eventually succumbed to his injuries, but before he did that, the student told college authorities that he had seen a demonic face in the mirror that morning. He then became compelled by a powerful urge to end his life and grabbed his razor uncontrollably. Struggling against what he believed was a demonic force manipulating him to cut his own throat, he threw himself through the window to make it stop.
Wow. That is terrifying.
Yeah. So this leads to the priest coming in. After this incident, a priest spent a night in the room hoping to determine what was causing young men to kill themselves. According to the story, he was so horrified by whatever he experienced that when he emerged the following morning, his hair had gone completely white. Now, what this person goes on to say is that most urban legends originate with at least a seed of truth. Like there's some little tidbit that's real and truthful. And then, you know, the hair turning white thing, if that's scientifically not possible, it's unlikely. But that, you know, the deaths are real, they're recorded. And this poor boy is saying he saw this like demonic face.
Oh, he's so scary.
Yeah. So at the time, of course, suicide was is a sin, according to Catholics still. And the matter was basically covered up by the college. So it's not like these boys moved into the room and knew.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like, oh, I knew I'm staying in the room of this guy who slit his throat.
Yeah.
Like, it's not
they
like
went
that.
in blind.
So room 2 was closed eventually. And eventually converted into like kind of they call it an oratory, but it just looks like a little like shrine almost, like a religious shrine. It is also used today as the history department's workroom. So if you're like making copies or picking up a graded test, like you have to go into that room still. It's like, no, thank you.
No.
But the thing that is strictly forbidden is bringing a mirror into that room. Because it's the mirror where he saw the demonic face. So
that is so
super creepy. Yeah, that one was really freaky.
Yeah, like I think that's just a mutually shared nightmare to have something appear behind you in a mirror.
Oh, every time I wash my face, I'm like, well, this is it. I'm like, oh god, dry quickly, but also keep my eyes closed. I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
The whole thing's terrible.
Of course, that's the time when the demon would appear, is when you're bent down washing your face out of all the times.
You're like, hey, girl.
Of course.
Yeah, not when I want to see a demon. Not that I ever want to see a demon. You're not welcome, demons.
Nope.
Not welcome.
Not welcome.
So the next one actually brings us to India. So this is Gujarat Technological University. It's a very famous university, apparently, in India, and it is reportedly frequented by ghosts and paranormal beings. There have been stories of a wailing woman heard by mainly security staff at night. It's been reported that furniture and other objects are violently thrown around in classrooms while people are in there. doors opening and closing on their own, and there's a very eerie presence inside the elevator, particularly during the daytime, actually. So, like, all the time.
Yikes.
So people are like, don't feel good in here.
No.
So, they call it GTU in this article I read, but it is in a city called Ahmedabad. Students, faculty, security staff, everyone reports weird shit happening here. So this isn't just like students being young and like silly, trying to have some campfire fun. But there have been some actually like really serious repercussions of some of the presences that people feel. So in 2013, mind you, there are 400,000 people on this campus, students and faculty together. 400,000. It's huge.
That's massive.
It's huge. Wow. And back in 2013, there was, so what the article said was basically there have been increasing instances of reports of these kinds of things, and it's starting to impact people like really seriously in terms of like their mental health. So in 2013, there was someone who felt the presence specifically of a woman while alone in the elevator, because daytime, nighttime doesn't matter. There's some weird vibe. This gentleman turned extremely mentally ill after that instance. Like, I think had to be hospitalized. So, like, he was, like, not okay after that. Yeah. So, yeah, it's on a list of, like, if you are going to Ahmedabad, there's, like, a list of things in this city specifically that are, like, haunting sites. So, I don't know, like, if the history of the city has something to do with it, but it's, like, not good vibes.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Creepy.
So, I have two more. So the next one is Ateneo de Manila University, which Manila. Yes. So it was founded in 1859, and it was a World War. This is one of the only like historical ones I included. It was a World War II military camp and war hospital. So already you're like, okay, a war hospital, got it. But what's creepier is it has a cemetery right below it.
Classic.
So, some of the ghost stories that come out of this university regularly are the ghost of a woman who was hanged and died in a praying position. Dwarves.
Oh.
I didn't realize that was paranormal, but like, okay.
No.
Other mythical beings, spirits of lovers who had killed themselves, ghosts of Japanese soldiers, which makes sense given the Japanese occupation, and the presence of an otherworldly portal at Court 4, specifically.
Yikes.
So, it is said that even with some 15,000 college students roaming the university, restless souls still wander. The Cervini Dormitory, the Gonzaga Hall, and Bellarmine Hall. So there are three like very specific areas that are not great. So there are some like I found another article that kind of broke down like all the specifics of each area. So the Department of Communication building is at Seminary Drive near the Manila Observatory, and it's actually considered to be the most haunted building in all of the ADMU, they call it. But most of the classes here have been moved to the newer social sciences building, partially because of all the weird shit that's happened there. The bathrooms specifically are very creepy. There's a janitor who's about to close the building. A guard pleaded with him to use the bathroom. The janitor agreed. The guard went to the second floor to use the bathroom. After the guard left, the janitor checked the room before closing for the night and found it messy. And that's an understatement. There were handprints of human waste all over the room. The janitor immediately left the building and went to find the guard, who was totally clueless about what had happened there. They finished talking. The janitor is like, okay, whatever, dude. by, the guard turns around to leave, and he had a handprint on his back.
Oh, no.
So
That's
it like
so scary.
so it like happened when he was in there. I don't
Ew.
know, weird. And like,
Yeah.
what kind of ghost is like playing with shit? Like,
Yeah,
very
and where is
weird.
it coming from?
I don't know.
Who
I have
knows?
no idea. Because he just
Ew.
had to pee.
Gosh.
So it's like,
Right.
sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. So some say there are other, allegedly haunted buildings. Um, Supposedly there's a janitor that haunts one of the buildings who died when the air was sucked out of the building to clear chemicals. It was in
Hmm.
like one of the science buildings. And so
Whoa.
he like suffocated, I guess, which I didn't
Oh,
even know
wow.
was possible. But I guess if he was
Yeah.
like stuck in some part of the building and couldn't get out.
Mm-hmm.
Gonzaga Hall, which I mentioned earlier, um, there's something really weird about the stairs. So no
Hmm.
matter where you're going, you somehow always end up at the second floor landing.
What?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Like you get turned
Weird.
around and you end up at the second floor landing.
Oh, that's weird.
Super weird. Like
Like
Harry Potter vibes, but
vortex.
like way
Yeah.
worse.
Oh,
Yeah.
God. True.
Bellarmine Hall is allegedly haunted by a friar, Friar Eliazo, who's just kind of always around. Um, like I said, Court 4 is haunted by, well, not haunted, but occupied by this like portal, which is in the middle of actually the high school that exists on the college campus.
Hmm.
It goes on and on. Like it's just like people are just freaked out and
Yeah.
everything. So one that's really interesting. So there are two staircases on the property. There's the one at Gonzaga Hall, and then there's one at Sacred Heart Novitiate Building, which is the same thing, except um, people end up at the third floor. Is that right? No, they were trying to leave the third floor and couldn't find the ground floor. Like no matter how far they went
Oh.
down, they couldn't get to the ground floor.
Oh, God, what a
So it's just
nightmare.
something really weird
Yeah.
happening with the stairs.
Uh-huh.
And the weirdest thing is people report passing the same painting of Jesus at each floor
Oh.
landing. It's like a
Whoa.
wormhole, like over and
Yeah.
over and over and
Oh,
over again.
God.
It's really
That is
weird.
a nightmare.
It's
Wow.
really weird.
Hmm.
So then the last one I have is Salva Regina University. So it actually only earned university status in 1991, but the buildings were erected in 1934. So getting close to 100 years old, a little less than 90 years old,
Mm-hmm.
88. It's very mansion-like, and the reason why I put it on the list is it's actually a filming spot for ABC's Dark Shadows.
Oh.
I was dying. I was like, oh my god, so cute.
Amazing.
So, Carrie Mansion, which is a part of the campus, is an academic facility and is allegedly
Mm-hmm.
haunted by a nun who killed herself there after being impregnated by a priest. And I just want
Oh.
to call this out. I read through at least 60 summaries of different haunted universities. This
Mm-hmm.
is a theme in like
Many of
25%.
them. Wow.
Many of them. And I don't know if it's like an illicit affair or if it's like a rapey kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing, but anyway, it's very common.
Yeah. Huh.
Um, uh, Exorcism has been performed in a certain part of the university that's notorious for being haunted. Um, but there are three different areas of the university. So there's that are haunted: Carey Mansion, the Watts Sherman House, and then the Wakehurst House. So I went in a little more detail to Watts Sherman and Wakehurst. So
Okay.
Watts Sherman, there's a ton of backstory. So since it was built in the 1930s, it's old. There's a history to it. People like died in the house, got sick from things, and died, whatever.
Yeah.
But I kind of jumped ahead to like modern times. So one, there were girls who lived in room 308 in the Watts Sherman house, who have a ton of stories about things that happened there. A girl named Christina D'Amico, who lived in that area, said there were nights when every girl in the room would wake up at exactly 4 a.m.
Oh, creepy.
So creepy. Like, I don't like that.
No.
At night, there would be banging on the window, and they lived on the third floor.
Good.
And
Yes.
the beds would randomly shake during the night, which gives me like
Yikes.
big Exorcist vibes.
Yes.
So they were super scared. So they had Reverend John Codega come in to bless the room and left holy water there. And Christina says since there's been nothing weird.
Wow.
So the
Weird.
like blessing exorcism of the room worked, I guess.
It worked. Yeah. Huh.
So then Wakehurst, John Quinn, who was the dean of students at the time, this was in the 80s, used to work in the Wakehurst building until his office was moved to another building. He was there until after 10 p.m. one night and heard noises from the main stairwell that sounded like a dinner party. So, like glasses clinking, people talking. So he was kind of freaked out because he's like, oh, kids broke in and are throwing a party and I don't want to, whatever. So he called security, telling them, like, hey, I think there's some kids in the hallway. Security informed him that they searched the area. There was no one in the building other than him. And the building had actually been wired shut 2 hours earlier. So literally no one would have been able to get in.
Yeah. Whoa.
So he quickly packed up his things and got the hell out of there.
Wow.
He also explained a report from one of his coworkers, who happened to be a female, who happened to be working late in the same building. She was in the room, like just at the top of the stairwell, like just to the right. And so she said, suddenly something banged on the ceiling, like right over her head, but she was on the top floor because she was at the top of the stairwell. And so she was like, what the hell is that? And so she knew there was no one up there and no one should be on the roof. It was late at night. And so she locked herself in the room and called security to escort her out.
Wow.
Creepy.
Extremely.
So, okay, I lied. I actually have one more. And this one isn't so much like, well, it's ghosty in that, so it's University College London, which was founded in 1826, allegedly very haunted. 215,000 students have had supernatural experiences there.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Like,
where are they getting these numbers?
Metric ass ton. I have no idea.
I want to know who's studying this. Yeah.
Same. So there are a bunch of like kind of famous ghosts, but the one that really freaked me out that I wanted to end on is the university founder, whose name is Jeremy Bentham, whose preserved body, consisting of his skeletal remains wrapped in straw and other materials with a waxed figure of his head, dressed in his finest clothes, is stored in a glass case at the university.
Ew. That sounds nightmarish.
Scariest thing you've ever heard?
Yeah, what a mental image.
I was like, that's something out of a horror movie, or like out of my nightmares. That's horrifying.
So it's on display? Like, where is it?
I guess. Yeah, I mean, it says in a glass case, stored in a glass case at the university. I tried to find photos, and then I got like kind of creeped out looking for photos of it, so I just stopped. But I can try again.
Ew.
But there's stories of him being seen roaming the halls or the corridors, and the sound of he had a walking stick, of the walking stick tapping on the ground.
Yikes. That's so
Like, you're just
creepy.
asking to be haunted if you're putting
Yeah.
his, like, wax, like, Madame
Weird.
Tussauds style with
Yeah.
his skeleton inside. Like, can we not do that? Like,
Ew.
his family approved of that?
Yeah. Ew. No, thank you. They want to
Absolutely
come
not.
back and visit that. Like, ew.
No, just
Mm-mm.
absolutely not. So anyway, that's Haunted School.
Oh, well, I love it. That was
Yeah,
a fun one.
that was a fun one. I liked it.
Yes.
Well, please follow along on social with us at Girls Gone Spooky on Facebook and Instagram. And listen, send us your stories, you guys. Like, do you have spooky stories? Send them to us at girlsgonespooky at
Please.
gmail.com. We don't even have to share them if you don't want us to share them. We will keep them to
Yeah.
ourselves. You have that on recording. So
Yes. Just let us know.
please share your stories.
Please. We'd love to
Because we
hear it.
just want to be entertained.
Yes.
And also to empathize with you, because we've had some scary shit happen to us too, as you well know. So
Yes.
share, please.
Yes.
And most importantly, stay spooky.
Stay spooky. Bye.
Bye.